Yes, hello, folks. Good evening. Welcome along. We are up for the match, our hurling final special leading up to the senior championship decider on Sunday. Bangorstown Gales versus St. Mullins. Everyone very much excited. The town is absolutely hopping. St. Mullins and the surrounding areas are absolutely hopping. There's a fellow by the name of Mouse back in town. So this is really shaping up to be an absolute cracker indeed. Blessed there with their version of Adagio for strings being our entrance music there. We give them a shout out. Um, Blessed and Tiesto, both a little bit out of budget for us this evening, unfortunately. But we want to thank our kind sponsors, Connolly's Top Line, who've come on board for this evening, Gladney Cleaning Services, Bindnerstown Pitch and Putt Club, and the Red Lion in Bindnerstown, who are showing the game on Sunday for anyone who can't be there in Netwatch Cullen Park at 4 o'clock, and live music thereafter as well. And thanks, of course, to our championship sponsors who've been with us from the minute the ball was thrown in this year: Breeze Nolan Physiotherapy, Brendan Kavanagh Furniture, Balloons and Sweet Treats, Craig Carney Web Design, DB Recovery, and Corcoran Precast Tanks. So we have a whopper show lined up for you. We're going to be hearing from Gary Bennett in about 10 minutes' time. Gary joined us a little bit earlier for a pre-record because he's over in New York and is missing out on the decider, having played in it last year. After that, then, we'll be getting the battle of two, I suppose, exiles, if you want to call them that. We won't reveal who they are just yet. And Pat Cody, a familiar face and voice. We couldn't have enough for the match with St. Mullins in it without having Pat Cody. And Martin Kelly is going to come along and join us as well. A man who would have coached, I'd say, almost all of the Bindnerstown side at some stage. And of course, over that side, they got to an All Ireland club final as well. But first and foremost, I want to welcome along John Gladney. How are you getting on, Johnny?
All right, buddy.
How's things with you?
All right, we're all excited, so we are. We're all trying to keep the head. I think the boys are trying to keep their heads down. Everyone else is just trying to get bunting and flags and anything else up we can. And all the kids are looking forward to it. Just look, there's just a massive buzz, massive hype around the town about it. And you couldn't blame lads, because I suppose if you were to go from the start of the championship back up along, if you had said to me it would have been a county final after the Ballinkillen game, I would have said not a hope. But I was 100% in the wrong. And you see what the way they come out and hurled against Rangers the last day, we can be nothing other than very hopeful now. Whether Mouse is there or not, the boys will take him on, I'd say.
Yeah.
No.
Thanks firstly for the sponsorship, Johnny. And thanks for coming on then, secondly.
Yeah. There's loads of lads to listen.
Right?
It's the podcast is the thing that keeps things going like this. It's the smaller lads like yourself that are putting out a bit of crack there and having to laugh at lads, and something to watch there at a local level that's probably giving the lads a little bit more info into the background of things and that. So if you can't put the money into the lecture yourself, you can put it into nobody.
We'll appreciate it, Johnny. Thanks a million, lad.
Right, buddy.
In terms of the personnel, you'd know them quite well. You would have heard with a lot of them. You also coached a lot of them. I'd say there wasn't too many of them you weren't involved with.
I coached some of them. In terms of GA players, I mentioned. I don't know how Craig is still doing it, but sure, that's Craig, I suppose. He's that kind of a different lad, isn't he? He just puts his mind to it, and he could even throw his leg back in there to the county, I suppose, and have a go at it. But I think he's just minded himself. No, I heard with Beanie, Alfie, Craig, Ganju, and then there's a drop off. Then it kind of comes. Mark would have heard a little bit with me, but Mark, but Ganji and then the younger lads came through, and there's kind of a generation, kind of a split back down the long then again to Keane and all that. Like Keane would have been a lot younger than when I gave it up to Stone. So the boys are coming through now are different. They're different gravy than what we were at that age. Their fierce focus, their gym work, and their fitness, their motivation, their application, how they apply themselves to things. They're different than what we were.
Yeah. And you mentioned the excitement there earlier. I saw you. Jeez, were you putting up flags in Claire Gardner's house? Is she afraid of heights, or what's the story?
No, she's afraid of work, I think, is the term I chose. Tommy was there, and he kind of gave me a look to say he was leaving. And I kind of was like, I know how you're leaving, Tommy. You know, Tommy will be canonized. The day Tommy closes his eyes, he'll be canonized for what he puts up with. She'll be over at me door now in a while.
Yeah, she's 100% tuned in, I'd say. And anyone
Oh,
else that's tuned
Jesus,
in there,
lads.
lads, just drop a comment under the Facebook stream or YouTube. Twitter doesn't come into the interface here, so felt away with the other two all the same. But yeah, just Johnny, I remember on the sideline one day. I was over in Avery Miners, you were over Town, and
Yeah.
our words weren't as kind as they are now. But a lot of those chaps were
No.
actually playing from memory.
Yeah, she had
You know, Danny Doyle would have been there, Keane Doyle,
Keen Dale. You would have
Darren Nolan,
had,
probably.
yeah, Dara played.
Yeah,
You would have had Jack wasn't there. Jack McCullough wasn't there. Patrick MacDonald was playing.
yeah.
You had Richie Whelan. You had
Mm.
a few, and like the boys, like Keane. Look, that was Keane. That was just every way that team worked out. Poor old Andy Kane, was there with us, and myself and Andy. Like, and Andy just said, "Look, we get a team going." It should ended up that there was a group of under 16s there that were like what they are now. There was no shying away, and we were kind of like, yourself, when you get younger lads coming through, you're kind of going, "Look, we'll stick him in cornerback." And I suppose Darren Nolan was the one that he was in front of me. And I can always remember saying to his father, said, "Listen, we'll mind Darren, we'll let him in nice and handy." And I remember putting him in cornerback, and Andy looked at me and went, "He's too good to be in cornerback. We let him out wing back," and he was only 15, and there was no difference in Dara. Dara hurled out of his skin all through the year, and you would have had Owen Dowling and all them younger lads came through, and Richie Whelan, and sure we ended up. I think he beat us in the quarter final. I think he got onto the semi-finals against Rangers that year. We won a B final actually against St Mullins.
And you bet us the following year out in Fenna.
Yeah, we bet you the following year in Fenna. But Jason O'Neill would have been hurling that year for St Mullins. And sure, look,
Paddy Boland was there as well, actually.
Paddy Boland, yeah. Sure, Jason was out with his world too, wasn't he? He was, still is. But at that age group, he was very, very good. His touch, everything was there. He had everything, But the boys had everything too, Just
it's
getting
nice
a bit of belief into him.
The retention rate, John, is very good, in fairness. Like, when you see lads, even if it doesn't matter what the grade is, to keep them going and keep them hurling, that's a really pleasing thing to see, like, in fairness.
Yeah, well, I suppose it was, if lads go back and they'd often say, we were to look, I suppose the older you get, the more you talk about it. And there was probably lots of lads in Bangor who never reached their potential, or, we came through. We had serious teams here in the town, serious teams. And there was potential there. I remember you were on a podcast with Craig last year, and I listened to it. And I remember you asked Craig a question: how many senior titles would you have thought you've won? And if you had asked us when we were 18, we would have said, Jesus, we've won 4 or 5. And then it just, listen, lads went away, lads went to college, lads lost interest, lads wouldn't make the effort. I won't say lads, I'd say a few lads. And that was the drop off then. There was probably, like myself there, didn't pull me weight, and I was quite happy then to sit back and play a bit of junior, a bit of intermediate, and not train. So, look, yes, like on Sunday there, you'll stand on the hill and you look down, and there's party, you'll have a little knot in your stomach looking at it, and you'll go, you know yourself, it's hard to stand back and look at it. You'd love to be out there with the boys and the jersey on you, even if you're a sub or anything, just to have that buzz or that feeling there. And it's not, but make no difference to me. Look, I'm as much behind the boys as you would be talked out. Jacko would be the same. You'd have Christy, Cody, Trevor, and all, and Peter, Dotsy, John Miley, all the boys will be there. Dermot Summers, like Dermot's in Canada. Dermot moved away. There was nothing he could do. He had to go for work and things. But all those lads, they'll still back the boys as much as whether they're talked out or not. And I think the lads understand that too, that we're gone and we're gone, but there's a new guard coming through. And I think Craig is kind of, fairness to him, he's trying his best to bring them through Beanie and Alfie. And like, where in the world would you get another Alfie? I think he's one of a kind.
Yeah.
We're very lucky to have him. Very, very lucky to have him, because, like, I think I done bits of coaching with the lads, but Alfie and Skippy Bulger, I think Peachy, Rofi, Ganj would have done more work with them lads. I wouldn't have done 10% of the work that the boys would have done with that younger generation that are coming through. Niall Bulger and the lads, and yeah, like Alfie has, like, it's mad because you can see there in some of it, even like we're at the match Sunday, and Sean watched, like, look, we're watching. My father was the first time in watching him, and he kept going to me, who's that lad there? And it's Sean Wall. And she know herself was explaining who Sean Wall was. Because Chelsea said, he's like a young Alfie. And I kind of was going, he actually is a bit like young Alfie, in a way that the way he covers it, the way he gets the blocks, and he hunts, he doesn't give up, and he's constantly. Then he only found out, I thought Sean was 20, only found out yesterday, Sean's only 17.
Yeah.
I kind of thought to myself, you can see where Alfie's mentality has rubbed off in the boys.
That's because he's an air breed man, John, really.
Who, Sean? Yes,
He's a Kane.
I don't
He's a
know.
Kane, sure.
I don't know about that, lad.
One way or the other, he was going to turn out alright, wasn't he?
His granddad has a big green and black flag up in the gate, so.
Oh, Jenny Mac. Banbury has one up as well up there.
Has he?
Yeah, he has.
Yes,
yeah.
he's gone mad.
Yeah. Geography means nothing nowadays, lad. John, before I let you go, quick prediction.
Oh, Bagnallstown all day long. If you were to stand back, and watch that as neutral, you're same as you're a hurling man, you stand back and you watch it. You watch the performance Bagnallstown put in there against. Look, I know Rangers missing a few. Makes no difference. You have to be what's in front of you. The performance that Bagnallstown put in there Sunday, if they can reproduce that, whether Mouse is there or not, it'll make no difference. This Bagnallstown, like that, if they can put that back in this Sunday, I can see it being 6 or 7 to Bagnallstown. Look, Mouse is another man, 1 in a million, but it's on the day, I suppose. But I'd be strongly favouring Bagnallstown. I just think the younger lads have that hunger, to have that kind of passion, the drive, and they're not going to be hyped up. They're going to be focused. They know the job in hand. They know what they're doing. They're after over the year they've got better and better and better. No, little bits at a time, but they're getting there. And it's probably the first Bagnallstown team in a long time where we're getting better as the year goes on, not worse.
There you go. No messing by. I wouldn't expect any less. John, thanks a million. Really appreciate it.
Sound lad.
Chat with you. Take care. There we go. John Gladney. So next up, as we were saying earlier, I had a chat with Gary Bennett, and here's how it went. It is in 2 parts, so I might split in the middle for 2 or 3 seconds, but we'll give it a jingle here now. So on our LWB Up for the Match special, we're going all the way to New York to Mr. Gary Bennett, a good friend of the podcast. How are you keeping, Gar?
All good now, Kev. Alive and kicking anyway, which is the main thing. Yourself?
That's it. Sure, not too bad. It's fierce exciting. Sure, County Final Weekend, and I suppose, is there a slight tinge of disappointment, Gary, that you're missing out? Like, you played in it last year, so yeah, obviously a bit disappointed.
Big time now, to be honest with you. You know, it is sickening to be fair. I'm not going to lie about it. I suppose I was home there after James's wedding for 2 weeks or so. And I kind of got back into swing of it. I was up training with the lads, and I was around then for the 2 games that they played and stuff. And you could see they were kind of building something good. I know obviously the Ballinkillen game at that time in the group stages didn't go great or whatever. But you could see in training that they were moving fierce well. And I think it's starting to come to fruition now. They're kind of after stringing probably 2 good, solid performances there together. And hopefully it's just in time now for the final. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't disappointed. All right, but look, that's the way the world works, and I can't do anything about it now. My decision was made, so that's that, you know.
Yeah, you're on a bit of a globe trot. When did you pull out again? It was the later part of last year, and tell us about the ground you're after covering.
Yeah, I'd say it was 17th of November I left home, so I was in Canada for a few weeks, and then in the new year I went down to Mexico and worked my way down through Central and South America, and up in New York now for the summer, so enjoying it up here and back home now in a couple of weeks. So I'll be glad to get back full time now to the mother's dinners and things like that, some of the home comforts. But it's been great now, great experience. Don't regret kind of any moment of it at all. It's been well worth it. So once in a lifetime, you know, do it and tick it off the list, and that beats as you. But it's been great. Like, I can't complain at all now.
Yeah, 2/3 of the world covered by water, the rest covered by Gary Bennett.
Jesus, it must be a small world, Kevin.
But you know, come here, Gary. I know it's disappointing to miss now Sunday, but it is a once in a lifetime thing. And if you don't do it in years to come when the window is shut, you're disappointed. So fair play to you for taking the gamble, you know.
Exactly. And I suppose with COVID and everything, it kind of just emphasised to me that, you know, you might only get one crack at it, so make the most of it when it's there and the opportunity is there. So I said there was no holding back at that stage. Decision was made and I was going, and that was just that. So it has been great. But look, I'll get back to the hurling next year anyway with the boys. But I'm enjoying it out here now at the moment. So the hurling is different culture out here, I suppose, but it's it's definitely enjoyable as well. I can't complain about that.
Yeah. There were only chartering flights home from San Francisco. There was none from New York, was there not?
A different kind of terms though for myself to come home, but unfortunately I wouldn't have been eligible anyway, so it was just the way it worked out. Obviously, I would have loved to have been back there, and probably would have went back if I was eligible to play. There's no question about that, but it's just the way it was, and the decision was made probably around April or that, so look, it's done and dusted now, and I'd be cheering the boys on, and that'll be the height of it, you know.
Yeah, and the difference there, we were speaking about it off air, there's 3 sanctioned transfers you can do, I think, in New York, where lads can go back 30 days after the initial sanctioning of the transfer once it's approved. But you opted selflessly, I have to say, to maybe let someone else have a crack at that, not to be using one up, and went to full transfer, which, in fairness to you, it was a nice thing to do, like, but that's kind of the terms and conditions, and that's the reason why it's not so simple for you to come back.
Yeah, I suppose I knew, and I was after hearing from home that the championship at home would be over by early August, and I hadn't any intentions at that stage to be home at that stage anyway. So I kind of said to the club out here that, look, I'd be willing to take the full transfer because I wouldn't be back anyway at that stage. So, look, it was just the way it worked out, and lo and behold, the boys are in the final, and that's just it. But, look, the decision was made. I kind of, you know, it's just the way the world works and life goes, I suppose, you know. But, look, it's not the end of the world either. I'll be cheering the boys on, and they've plenty there in the tank to do it anyway, you know.
What club are you with over there, Garen? How's that going?
With Hoboken Guards over here. So, we're actually playing now this evening in the last group game. If we win that, we'll be straight into the final. If not, we'll be into a semi-final. So there's 4 teams, and top team goes straight to the final. Second and third place semi-final. So we're going well enough there at the moment. Like, you know, I can't really complain. But tonight's a big one. Basically, whoever wins it could go straight to the final. So it's almost like a semi-final for us now this evening. But that's great old crack, and as I said, a different kind of culture to home, you know, in terms of, I suppose, socialising and things like that. So it's great old laugh now. But, you know, when it gets to this kind of stage, and now it starts to get a little bit more serious. Like, I suppose lads that are homegrown, that are from here, or that are living over here, it's their county championship at the end of the day, so they're all out to win it too. So you kind of have to respect that too. But the standard is pretty high, and you know yourself, all the games are on AstroTurf in Gaelic Park there, so you'd be fairly well broke up after them running around and that, you know. Especially in that saunter and heat as well. It's cruel.
Yeah. So that was part 1 with Gary. As you said, we split it in 2 just with the software. So here's part 2. Dave Shaw went out a few years ago and turned himself into a forward. And I know you had a previous stint as a forward before you went out there. But where are you operating at the moment?
I'm back in the usual spot, Kevin. I'm stuck in the corner there. So I'm in corner back there at the moment. I don't think I'll ever get out of that corner for the foreseeable, I'd say. But who knows, when the legs start running dry now in a few years, I might get out of it at some stage. But I'd say I'll have to be saying my prayers on a weekly basis to get out of it now at the moment anyway. Yeah,
sure. Look, it's like, it's one of those things, once you go in there and start hurling alright, it's very hard to get back out of it, no matter how well you're hurling.
It's impossible. I think you're just stuck with that label that you're a cornerback, and once you're a cornerback, it's not really a position lads that kind of grow up wanting to play in or anything like that. But look, you have to do a job, and that's all it is. You're a stopper, so to speak. So, but hopefully get over at some stage with any luck.
Yeah. Listen, before I let you go, I promise I wouldn't keep it too long. In terms of Mr. Mouse coming back around and Paddy being back in the camp, it's after throwing a big spanner in the works. I was just saying there that I wish I had known that on Monday morning when I was doing the predictions. I might have shaped things a little bit differently. But I tell you, while it's a great asset, it puts the management in a bit of a pickle about whether you start. Mouse will say whether you don't start, kind of a thing. If Gary Bennett was manager of St. Mullins now, what would Gary Bennett be doing?
That's a dirty old question. In fairness, I know you'd throw in one curveball. It's it's a very hard one to call because, you know, you've had a team there now that's been relatively settled, I'd say, throughout the the championship. I know there's been a couple of maybe positional changes and things like that. And then you had lads obviously away on honeymoons, holidays, and things like that. But other than that, like the personnel has been relatively the same, I suppose. It's a two-sided thing. Do you stick with what you know for the year? Like going on the performance last day, and even when I was home, I was there for the Rangers game, and I was very impressed with the kind of work rate in the first half of that game in particular. And by all accounts, against Bagnallstown, I was listening to that one on the radio, but the work rate was phenomenal as well. So do you kind of, from what I've heard anyway, there's probably no one there at the moment that you could really drop. Like, they all seem to be pulling their weight. Everyone, and I know I was listening to yourselves there talk about, there's kind of each individual has an attribute and they're kind of playing to them, I suppose. John Dyle's a ball winner, but he's still working hard. Phil Connors is back on the senior scene as well, and he's been putting in good shifts there as well. Connor is Connor. He's dangerous. He's lively. He's quick, and all the forwards have something kind of to offer in their own right. Like, and then I suppose the question is with the two boys, like, Mouse is what an asset to be able to bring on as well. You're not going to get anywhere in Ireland the caliber of forward to be able to bring on like that. And then with Paddy, it's almost where do you want to pick Paddy to play? Really, he can play up front, he can play middle of the field, or he can play half back line or whatever. So I don't know. It'll be very interesting to see, but I think there's a good chance that they might stick with what they have and what they know, Kevin, and then maybe introduce the boys as the game is progressing. But I think they'll start with what they have or what they had the last day, and then gradually introduce the boys. Because at the end of the day, they've been away for a stint as well, and it's just getting back right, I suppose, and sleep patterns and things like that when you're away for a couple of weeks and things like that. But I definitely think they'll probably stick with what they have and gradually then introduce the boys as the game's progressing. But as I said, like, what two lads to be able to bring on, they could, without starting them, they could be game changers when they come on. And there's not too many lads that are going to want to face either of those after running around for maybe 40 or 50 minutes, and a fresh set of legs coming on like that. Like, yourself with Mouse, like, he can grab a game by the scruff of the neck in a flash, and next thing there could be a goal. But like, I think the boys will be definitely focusing on themselves. Like, from when I was at home there, you could see it. There wasn't an awful lot of chat about any of the opposition we were playing. It was more so ourselves and focusing on ourselves. But Bagnallstown are going to bring one hell of a fight into this. They have their tails up now, and like, whatever about the impact that our lads have, especially up front in the work rate, like, Bagnallstown have 6 very, very good forwards and 6 very capable forwards. All again have their own attributes. Like, I suppose with Danny Dyle there, usually he would probably be seen as a grafter, but he got 3 points there the other day. Like, I'm sure Styler, like, his movement is second to none, and they have plenty of pace around him as well. So I don't know. It'll be very interesting. But I know you were saying off air, like, Bagnallstown will probably man mark. I don't know. I can't see our St. Mullins man marking as such. I don't think throughout the championship, from what I've seen, I don't think they have really man marked. They seem to just line out in their 6 backs and that's it. So I'd be very surprised if they deviate away from that. But no, it'll be helter skelter stuff, I'd say. But the first half will be interesting. Like, I suppose our lads have had a habit of, they started well the last day, and it looked like probably could have had the game maybe closed out by half time, and maybe lacked that bit of killer instinct to kill it off. And next thing, slap bang, the second half, and Ballinkillen are straight back in it. And we make life hard on ourselves, and we kind of have a bit of a habit of that. And you could probably say the same with the Rangers game. We probably left 2-2 behind us, maybe, or even a little bit more in the first half, and that game could have relatively been closed out at half time as well. But I think if St. Mullins can get a lead, like, it will be interesting to that point, because Bagnallstown are well able to pull teams back in. They're after proving that the last day. they'll reel you back in. And on the flip side, then we kind of have a habit of maybe letting teams into it rather than delivering a killer blow that can just take the wind out of another team's sail. So it will be very interesting, but could turn into a shootout too. Like there's two good sets of forwards there as well. So and the scoring has been good now from both sides. Probably in the semi-final, you know, it was relatively high scoring. So hopefully we can get a bit of a ding-dong game anyway, and a bit of entertainment involved in it too, you know.
Yeah, I think we're definitely guaranteed that. And if the boys don't start, if Mouse and Paddy comes in, and next thing and Andrew Kane and Richie Whelan comes in, you know, all of a sudden we were kind of saying the other day that maybe Bangladesh had that little bit of a better bench. Don't know if we're saying it now, Gar. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Your prediction before I let you go. You're sticking with your own, obviously, but by how much?
It's a tight one. I was there looking online. I think do the bookies have it as -2 or something, or is it -4?
I tell you now, it's been about 3 days since I looked at the odds, but the last time I checked it, St. Mullins were odds-on favourites anyway, and Bangladesh were 9-4.
Yeah, I saw that.
Now that's changed dramatically, I'd say.
Yeah.
I don't have the homework done immediately now, but by the time this is live, we'll no doubt be talking about with our other guest, Gar. But
yeah.
The spread is generally not too far out, is it?
No, I don't think so. I think our lads could win by possibly 4 or 5. I think.
There you
But
go.
that's just me. I could be eating my words now come Sunday evening, but I know. I just think from what I've seen at lads like with Morris, like it's very hurling orientated, and like some lads say he's old school, but it's all with the ball. It's all hurling, and even Alan Roach there was doing a bit of training with the boys as well, the drills and stuff, and they're very intense. Like, and remember the first night I went up to see them training, and you know they're moving the ball fierce well, and I think it probably proved even with John Dye's goal the other day, they're thinking sharply, you know, with say James playing the quick free and John sticking it and stuff like that. So I don't know. I just hope it all comes together for them anyway at the weekend, because it's definitely there, and I have seen it now in the build up to it that they're looking sharp. Like, so just hopefully it comes to show now Sunday, and we can get the business done. But Bagnallstown are going to bring a hell of a battle too, to be fair to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope they do. I hope they do, because I think you know, especially for a county final, you want a good tight game there that's a bit of a thriller as well, and I think they will. And like talking to lads, I didn't see the group game, but supposedly Bagnallstown showed a better lads that day, so you know they'll feel they left one behind probably at that stage, you know.
Yes, big thanks to Gary Bennett, who joined us live from New York a little bit earlier, and he was going to play a match there this evening, so I wish him the very best luck indeed. We did do our homework as well on the odds. Bangladesh are 9-4 outsiders, St. Mullins 5-2-1, and if you fancy the draw, it's 9-1 there at the moment. Peter Fortune, how are you getting on, boss?
Not too bad, Kev. Can you hear me all right, yeah?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. Now, viewer discretion advised, because Bowser Dial is in the building. How are you getting on, Bowser?
Jesus, Peter, you're dressed better than I am.
I thought up for the match now. I thought it was like the one that does be on the telly, you know. I put the suit on and everything, you know.
One town to another. I'm just after coming out of Oriel Park, Bowser.
I was going to ask, were you in the same car park?
No. I'm pulling at the side of the road. I have to leave 10 minutes early.
He's in the back, is he? Yeah. How are you, lads? All good, yeah?
No. Yeah, good.
So, Peter,
All good, Kev. Can you hear me?
I can, loud and clear. Yeah. Peter, you're taking time out from a wedding, so we won't keep it too long. We don't want you waking up with two black eyes.
No panic.
But I thought it was interesting. So we have two gents, obviously, a St. Mullins man and a Bangladesh man, who probably would have played against each other a couple of times, possibly related as well. Both moved to Louth and both won senior championships in the last couple of years. And Peter, you're going for another one on Sunday. Tell us a bit about that first.
Well, sure. County final now on Sunday against Knockbridge, 3:30. So hopefully now there'll be a bit of green and white ribbon on a couple of cups now after the weekend. But sure, it's been a bit of a funny championship. We're actually in the final without winning a game. It's I know I do be listening to your podcast about the structure in Carlow, and it's definitely something that needs to be looked at up here as well. It's just we're down to 3 senior clubs at the minute now. I know when I finished with St. Mullins, it was 4, and now, you know, now we've been back up to 6, which is great to see. And be hoping kind of maybe to push something like that up above as well. Try to get a couple more clubs going again to try and extend the championship, make it a bit more competitive. Because you can see there, maybe that's probably was after giving clubs like Bagenstown and that a real lift. The more games, and I remember myself there last year. I was at the group game between St. Mullins and Bagenstown last year. And now I hope I'm wrong in my prediction on Sunday, but I actually said to my mum, I was actually talking to Barry's mum that day as well, and I was saying, Jesus, you could really see this Bagenstown team winning the championship in the next 2 to 3 years. Just the youth was getting a chance to play more games and things like that, and you could see a really good team coming, and I think it's been great to see for another big team to emerge in Carlow.
Mm-hmm. Bowser, you're up to 90 this week. Peter, I'm not joking. I'd say 8 hours a day for the last 5 days. I've been getting messages, phone calls, and everything. And I tell you, it's a good job this lad's not part of the panel. I got a message Monday morning. Do you know what he said? What price are the town for Leinster? St. Mullins don't even have a chance.
That's
Do you know
right,
what, Kevin? Do you know what, Kevin? I said, you're saying I'm coming out from a wedding. The only reason I did is just to make sure that man doesn't get free reign on the microphone here tonight, because he do untold damage.
Yeah, you're telling me, boy.
You're keeping quiet enough, right?
Hey, come here. What's the story? So you heavily fancy the town, Bowser. What? Give me the basis for that prediction.
Well, to be fair, I've only seen a couple of games, saw a couple of training sessions as well, and I don't know. I think Peter's right, just in what he said. I think they're coming of age, this town team. I think the blend of youth and experience, I think, is going to come to the fore. I think on Sunday. Look, I haven't actually watched the semi-final in full. It was on the sunny moon, Kev, over in Tenerife, and I was watching it on the iPad. Emma was absolutely going ballistic to me. I was absolutely roaring. I got kicked out of the pool, but anyway, we were watching it. But do you know what struck me? I haven't seen a town team as aggressive off the ball in a good number of years. And I was over at the train station early in the year. I know the town of a couple of group games maybe didn't go their way, but they were absolutely tearing lumps out of each other. Niall Bulger, Paddy McDonald, those young lads coming through, real leaders who, umpteen medals. If you look at the Bagenstown team, they mightn't have played in senior finals. 4 or 5 of them, obviously. Craig has played in 2 of them. Beanie, obviously, as well. Alfie as well. So good leaders who've played in senior finals. But if you're to look at, I suppose, across the field, the number of lads there who actually have county medals might not be senior. So they won't fear St. Mullins. The aggression I thought was brilliant in the semi-final. One thing that I did notice, and fair play to yourself, Kev, Joe Nolan and Stephen Bamrick, you're keeping us all informed. You mentioned loads of lads who were away. Obviously, me and Peter are in Loud. You mentioned Dermot Summers in Canada. Barry Lamb is abroad. You're keeping us all, I suppose, informed about what's happening. Obviously, we can only see so much on the Park TV, but one thing that struck me was the spread of scores. And you did highlight it in the podcast earlier in the week that Bagenstown got, I suppose, from out the field. The goal threat that they're going to have, the pace in the forward line. But I thought the scores that they were getting out the field, the likes of Jack McCullough, Alfie, I think, popped up, Gary Bennett mentioned Danny Doyle. So that's going to be key. They're going to need to get those scores from out the pitch. The goals are going to be key. Paddy McDonald has caught my eye, very pacey in the corner. I mentioned him, I saw him training once or twice this year, and I think he could play a big part. Lots will be, the 2 Doyles will obviously be well watched. Centre forward, Mark Mack, hurling great stuff this year. Shout out to Mark. But I think Paddy could be one maybe that could go under the radar. He's plenty of pace. I mentioned the blend of experience, but really I think that you mentioned it earlier in the week as well. I think it is key when you have the likes of Andrew Kane, Andrew Casey, Niall Bulger, and they're not even in the starting 15. To have those lads, that was the last day. I'm sure they're pushing and they might get their place for the final. But to have that sort of bench, could be critical. But obviously the mouse has been in the air. You mentioned it. So he's obviously going to be. I don't know what Peter thinks. Do they start him or do they not?
I don't know. I was listening to the recording with Gary there, and then I got the message off Mum there on Tuesday morning. Just phone bing Tuesday morning. Mouse is home was on the screen, Look, it's a massive call, and it's not a call. It's going to be easy for a management to make, but I suppose if there was ever a man that's earned, the right maybe to come in and step in as someone who would have took the field with him on so many occasions, like, and a real leader for us. Like, I remember, like, I'm a couple of years older than him, but someone that I always looked up to on the field, and someone who's dragged us through difficult times at St. Mullins, and really put the club on his back at times. It's going to be a big call, but like Gary said as well, if the game is close with 20 minutes to go and you look over to the sideline as the bang's sound back and you see Martin Kavanagh standing on the line coming in, you're hoping he's going to the other wing. You're hoping he's not coming your side, like. So
do you know what I think though for Sunday? And I think from a Bagenalstown perspective, obviously in the group game, I think the town went maybe 4 or 5 points up. St. Millans came back at them, but I think if Bagenalstown can get a good start, there's going to be a big crowd there from the town, the terrace, the stand. It'll be absolutely packed on Sunday. And
can I intervene for 1 sec? Will there be many people in the stand? Because there's a lot of terrace people in both clubs. I can see that terrace being jammed.
I don't know how they're going to fit. I don't know how they're going to fit everyone over there.
Yeah.
There's men from Bagenalstown and St. Mullins that rain, hail, snow, it doesn't matter. They're standing over there.
In the same spot as well, roughly. So someone's going to have to give.
I heard Robbie Kane has black and green flares and everything to let off, and there could be a drum. But I know. In fairness, though, I think the start is key. If Bagenalstown could got a terrible start against the Rangers, but if you could get a good start here, obviously, there'd be a big town crowd there as well, and I think that's the key. If we can get that start. But just even on mention a couple of lads on who came on the last time for Bagenalstown, Andrew being one, like, to have that competition for places, that sort of, to look, if you're on the starting 15, whether it's Bagenalstown or St. Mullins, and to look at the line and you say, geez, if I miss a ball or I missed it, to have that pressure is brilliant. Pressure as a player, that will help you to perform. And I don't think Bagenalstown have had that really in the last couple of years. And that's why, Kev, you mentioned the window. This really seems to be the time that we need to make a count now on Sunday. And I think the bench will play its part. We get a good start. The crowd will obviously play its part. I think 9-4. Fill your boots, Kevin. Fill your boots. Well, it's going to happen. We're going to do it.
It's funny, like, as I remember, say, the first county final we won of the 3 in a row that we won that time. I can still remember my uncle telling me, geez, I think you're a little bit too young to win this one. Like, he was nearly kind of letting me down before he kind of said, the old saying, like, you lose one to win one kind of a thing, nearly, like. Yeah. And like, we got, oh jeez, I'm gone. I'm in the dark here. Hold on.
That's all right. We can still hear you. Yeah.
There we go. But I think both teams are in a kind of similar place. Like, if you look at the balance of age in both teams, like, and funny you mentioned that, Barry, about the Bagenalstown lads kind of having that underage success behind them, because, like, they're probably two very different clubs in that way. Whereas in St. Mullins, a lot of the time, actually, a lot of the lads that Gary's mentioned there, the young lads playing, like, I actually managed an under-14 team. I'm showing my age here now for all of us lads, but say Conor Keogh, Paddy O'Shea, Carl Conley, John Doyle, they were all on it, like, and it would have been a group that, really probably, we would have been beaten by most of the teams quite heavily throughout their under-14, under-16 championships. And there they are now, all of them, 5, 6 of them going to take the field on Sunday and maybe don't have that behind them. And I think, either team now can get this championship behind them. It could really crown both teams and really set them up going forward. Like, so, you have some great young lads there. It's been great to see, like, the likes of Conor Keogh and, say, Jack McCullough. He's not a lad I know too much about, but I've seen a bit of him with the county, over the last while as well. Like, and Joe, I was looking at that Carlow team, and Joe, I've been talking to a few lads like Paul Lyle and that, and Jesus, great to see some of the young talent that is coming up in the county, because that great team that we had over the last few years seemed to have been there for a long stint, and now you're really starting to see a new generation of really good hurlers coming up in Carlow.
Bowser, that's a fairly good point to pick up on with Peter, and it's something that would have been remarked upon previously too, where if you go down through it, like, and John Gladney kind of touched on it, the amount of times the Bagenalstown side would have won underages and minors, and you'd never. When was the last time St. Mullins won a minor Peter. It's a long time ago.
We've 2 minors, and we're one of the holders.
Yeah, so that was
And
2011, I think,
that,
was it?
yeah, and
So
before that, it was actually the man who was managing us that year. He played in the last minor team. Or Connors, he played in the last minor team to win it as well. So there's only 2 minors in the club.
that's mad. So like it's kind of, you know, up to now it's been polar opposites. So Bindstown will win a lot underage, and then obviously they're a new club, so they're only in existence 3 years. But just say a team from Bindstown, 1970 is won in the boardroom. I think 67 was the last time a Bindstown team won on the field of play. I'm open to correction on that. But
I'm just waiting on
this could be a change
yeah.
in the guard. Like this is a big game Sunday anyway, right? But you could be looking at a monumental shift here. And I want to take you up on that last year, because I remember where I was exactly when you rang me saying that Bindstown were going to win it last year, and I told you no. But give them 2 or 3 years as a window there, and I still
Well,
believe that window is there. But
well, look,
they
they
have to
won't
make a
want
count
for
if they're going
extra.
to, you
They
know.
won't want for extra motivation anyway after being done over in the semi-final last year. Clear goal, not given. Mouse was fouled. If it was anyone else, if anyone else would have been a free out. And here, listen.
5th here now. I'm going to plead.
I'm going to stop this shite now, right? I'm going to stop this right now, because ye and St. Mullins together wouldn't have met Rangers in the final last year, the way they hurled. So you can both rack on that one.
It was over the line. You want goal line technology now in Dr. Cullen Park? No, but come here.
You stop whinging, for Jesus' sake.
I know, but you know, everything happens for a reason, and I think this is probably, they're more developed this year, you know, all around, I think. Last year, the group stage, went unbeaten apart from the Rangers. This year, maybe not as good a record, but they seem to be getting it together at the right time. And I think the Gladney said there's another level there. I think there genuinely might be. Look, you have to respect St. Mullins as well. Like, you know, was it been in 7 of the last 10 finals? And
they haven't been in.
Yeah, exactly. But and won 4 of them. You know, so that's a set. You beat St. Mullins in the final and you'll have earned it. But I think, do you know what I think? If we can play like we did against the Rangers, it's ours to lose. If we can repeat that, from what I've seen on a sunbed in Tenerife, that's genuine. If you can repeat that level of performance, and just on the whole county final thing, and you know, you've mentioned lads in finals, it's not so much getting over the line in a senior final. These lads are used to playing finals. I don't know, was it Joe maybe mentioned it on the podcast earlier in the week? Everyone on that town team has they've either won a minor, they've won a, you know, underage medals coming up, and right throughout the team, and you're getting the 1, 2, 3, 4 lads per generation, if you like, that have come in, and it seems to be coming together nice. But look, hopefully be good crack anyway on Sunday. And Peter, so your best luck to you.
I'll be running into check. I'll have the mother checking Twitter at half time to give me a little wink if we're up or down. But
I'm making the comeback Barry, next year to take you down and loud.
He told me this last time as well. On that though, I suppose like we would have been fortunate enough to win a minor and an under 21 with our squad, like myself and Gary and Paul Lyle and the lads, and there is something different on that first final and going around with the band, and like it's going to be the same for our lads as well. Like there's a lot of our lads who haven't played and won and things like that. But I suppose like the one thing I would say for St. Mullins is, you know, that there's some superb leaders there who've been through it so many times. Like I know you were mentioning it on the podcast there, Kev, on Monday. Like, but Jack Kavanagh's point there straight after Craig Wall's goal the last day, like just and like it looks so simple because it's just off his left over the bar, but it's popped to him. He doesn't, you know, he's not thinking there's a minute to go here, we're down, it's straight over the bar, level game again, we get the next score. And you know, that is something I would say in my time playing with St. Mullins, they were always a brilliant team for never panicking, you know, no matter what the situation. And I have to say the same for Bankstown now. I only caught the first half of the Bankstown game because we were actually training ourselves the other day. But you know, when the 1-1 went in and Eddie Byrne gets the goal, you're kind of going, here we go again, near, you know, in your head, like, because Rangers have the capability to do that to teams. But geez, I couldn't believe when I came in, then Mom had sent me a picture of the scoreboard, and I was nearly trying to zoom in on it. I was like, am I reading that right, you know? But like, no, and I watched back the second half then the other day, like, and geez, it was a fierce performance. And like Barry said, like all over the field, I think like the one thing that you could could say, like, the work rate and tenacious effort that they had, like, and you shouted him out there, but he would have been a lad I played county with myself, like Mark McDonald, like, just he really, for me, like, just he is in your face aggression, and I think that's something that St. Mullins are going to have to really deal with on Sunday. Like, there's not going to be an inch of space, or they're going to Bankstown are going to be so up for this game, and St. Mullins are probably going to have to match that and even top that if they're going to get over the line.
Right, verdicts, lads. We have to go. We have to go. Verdicts. Barry, your verdict, and by how much? Because I know it's
9-4. Fill your boots, as I going to say. Look.
By how much, Barry? Very quickly.
5 points.
Right, Peter.
You get more than 9-4 on that now, Barry. I'm going to back my lads. Look, I think if it's going to be a very close game, and I can't see much. You've seen in the 2 semi-finals how close both were, but I think I'm going to give him the nod. I think he could see Mouse off the bench to swing it in the last couple of minutes. So it'll be a close game, 1 or 2 points either way. But I'm going to give my lads the nod anyway.
Did you see that little gif going around with the little plane and the little cartoon mouse inside it? Does not announce a fuel left in Aer Lingus, the amount of lads Mullins are after flying home this week.
Sure, look.
That's it. Right, lads, thanks a million. And Peter, best luck to you Sunday as well.
No
all right.
worries. Thanks very much,
lads. All the best. Cheers. One thing I would like to make a note of, and just look at the time, it's about 17 minutes past 10. And in around now, typically, a former colleague of mine on KCLR will be taken to the airwaves and will be entertaining thousands upon thousands of people. And that's Johnny Barry. And I'd like to pay tribute to Johnny Barry, who sadly passed away today. Really good character. What can I say? Earlier there was a tribute program on KCLR, and you had Daniel O'Donnell on it, you had Declan Nerney, you had Trudy Lawler, all the biggest names in Irish country music. And I think that says its own story about a legend that Johnny Barry was. So just on behalf of the Left Wing Back, we'd like to pass on our condolences to the family. We are now turning our attention to 2 men who I'd say would have crossed paths a few times down through the years. I'm going to bring in Pat Cody first. He's in good company. Pat, what's going on here? Give us a bit of insight.
I couldn't tell you, Kevin. I'm after getting dragged in here to Blanchfield's public house here in St. Mullins. Like I said to you there last week, County Final Week, you can't beat it, and it's in full swing here in St. Mullins. It's the best week of the year. I have there we have James' mom, James Island's mom.
How are you doing? How's things?
They're all having a big chat, having a few drinks and talking about the game and sure what else would you be doing this week, the week that's in it. So we're down here in Blanches, dissecting the game and what you're actually. There's a bit of a delay on the television here because they're watching yourself and the whole podcast here live. It's good all night here. Yeah, so I hope there's no feedback.
Yeah, as long as it's good feedback, I don't mind. But I know what you mean. I'm only trying to be funny. We'll bring in Martin Kelly here. How are you getting on, boss? Are you well? Can you hear us, Martin?
Oh, hiya, Martin.
Yeah, all good.
I can,
we might have a slight delay. I might actually get Pat to pop over to there's a quieter little spot down at Blanchfield's bar, and while he's doing that, I'll have a quick word with you, Martin. You're nicely set up. Say that again.
I said get Pat to buy you around while he's there.
Yeah. Sure, why not? Sure, why not? You wouldn't be a Liverpool fan around, would you?
No, not at all. No. Just a little bit.
Yeah. Well, listen.
Yes.
I'm going to bring Pat back in there now. He's in a quieter spot. Martin. Well, it's actually not that quieter. Actually, to be honest.
Is that working, Kevin? Is it? Do you want me?
It's working.
I can move.
We might get you to just somewhere a little bit quieter if we can.
Right, okay.
I'll talk back in a second again. Martin, what I was going to say was, in terms of these lads, right? I was just looking down through the team, and literally, I would say everyone at some stage, maybe bar JP Tracy, you probably coached at a different point. I said, did you?
Most of them, a lot of the young lads now, Niall Bulger, Jack McCullough, those younger lads I haven't, but all the older lads, Styler and Alfie and Beanie, Mark MacDonald, Andrew Townsend. Oh yeah, coached every one of them up. under 8s, under 10s, under 12s, 14s, had great success with them. Great bunch of lads, the whole lot of them. And the younger lads now as well coming through. Peter Doyle's young lad there, Keane and Danny Doyle and these lads, and they're mad for hurling. And after having great success, and hopefully it'll crown it off Sunday, please God.
Yeah, I suppose in moments like this, we like to stir a bit of nostalgia. And I remember a time where a Bindorstown side took on St. Mullins in an intermediate championship final, which culminated in an appearance in Crow Park. That was fairy tale stuff at the time. I was only a kid at that particular point, and being in De La Salle, the buzz, the hype, and obviously you were at the helm at that particular point. Magic times, yeah.
Out of this world, that's the truth. And it's like the boys next Sunday as well. And we used to say to that group of players, we're living the dream, and they did live the dream. Like, to be the first Carlow team ever to get to Crow Park, represent the Carlow club in an All-Ireland final. And it's the same for the boys Sunday in the senior. Like, our goal as players and as coaches years ago was always to try to get to a senior final. And unfortunately for a lot of us in the town, and we all had some very good hurlers and some very good underage hurlers, but we could never. We'd always come up against Michael or St. Mullins, and they always knew how to beat Bindorstown. They're old hands at it, and we were young lads, and we thought we knew everything, and they always managed to put manners on us, so they did back in the day. But like, times are changing now, so they are. So the town winning last Sunday again, Mount Leinster Rangers, was a huge monkey off our lads' back. And if they go out next Sunday and hurl, like for our lads to score 218, that was always a problem with Bindorstown. We always had brilliant defenders, but we could never get enough scores for some reason. Why, I don't know, but we could never put it together. But like, the score 218 again, the county champs last week, was unbelievable. And the character and the desire to show it, if they can show that next Sunday again, they'd have a great chance,
Yeah, I agree, absolutely. I'm just going to go to a few comments because I didn't get to them there earlier. A few people tagged, obviously, with different mentions and stuff. Brian Wall, born and bred Bindorstown, that's a shout out to you, Martin. They've messaged in from the Red Lion as well. They're enjoying the show at the Red Lion also. And again, we thank them for their kind sponsorship. And just a reminder, they're showing the game at 4 o'clock for anyone that can't get to Netwatch Cullen Park. And there's live music there afterwards as well. And the prediction from the Red Lion is the Gaels by a minimum of 4 points. Martin, how do you see it going in general?
I think it'll be a tight game. I know St. Mullins have Mouse back, and he'd be a huge addition to him, whether he starts or he comes in off the bench. He's a fantastic hurler. St. Mullins showed last Sunday as well, like, they didn't panic even when Ballinkillen got that goal with a minute and a half to go. Everybody was looking around the place thinking, that's it, Ballinkillen have it. St. Mullins don't do panic. They came straight up the field from the puck out, leveled it, and went on to win it. But saying that, the town are the same. Like, the Rangers got off to a fantastic start again the town last week. And of another day, another team maybe, the town would panic and get swamped, but they didn't. Show great character and great resolve. And in the second half, particularly like when they come under the cosh a bit, when they were 3 points up, and Darren Nolan made an absolutely fantastic save, dived across the goal to clear the ball. Brilliant save. It's little things like that that can win you a championship. And hopefully Sunday, my prediction is Bindorstown by 1. We're waiting since 1967. Yeah, we're waiting since 67, and like people go on about the final in 1970. The final in 1970 had nothing to do with Bindorstown. We didn't want it. And I've told hurlers on this. Bindorstown never wanted it. Aaron's Own didn't want it. It was the county board said Bindorstown are getting it. But the players didn't want it. And they never received the medals, which they never wanted either. So the last one we won was 67 on the field, and he's got that'll change Sunday.
Yeah. Well, in fairness, like I know from your point of view, your psyche, your mentality, it was very straight, very to the point, no bullshit, all or nothing kind of stuff. And you know what? In terms of that, it's probably a good question to ask you now. If Mouse Kavanagh was flying back and you were over St. Mullins this week, would you start him or would you bring him in off the line?
Me personally, no, I wouldn't start him. No. I don't think it'd be fair on whoever you're going to drop in after playing the whole championship and then come county final day, drop whoever the chap is going to be. I think this is just my opinion. I'd start whoever got me to the county final, and if we needed Mouse, I'd bring him in. That'd just be me.
Yeah. And you know what, Martin? It's a conversation that has. Say that again. You just broke up on me there.
I said St. Mullins probably won't do that, but that's what I would do.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? I'll ask Pat Cody now because I think he's in a quieter spot. Pat, you with us? Yeah, can you hear us?
I'm here, Kevin. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I don't know if you got that last question, but I was asking Martin, if he was over St. Mullins, would he start Mouse or would he bring him in? Because obviously it's the biggest talking point in the county the last day or two. What would you do personally?
Yeah, sure. You're talking point. I was away with the family for a couple of days down in Kerry, Kevin, and I was getting text messages 2 or 3 days ago. Is Mouse back? Is Mouse back? And I made a few discreet inquiries and found out, yeah, he was in the field last night. So, yeah, definitely start him. Yeah, if you're involved, I know he's been hurling at a high level over in San Francisco. So, look, Mouse Cavan is one of the greatest hurlers that this county's ever produced. So you're not going to. I don't think you're going to leave one of your biggest weapons on the sideline. Other people might have different viewpoint on it, but I think I'd be starting them anyway. Yeah.
And Martin, this actually sums things up pretty well because it literally seems to be 50-50. I was going to do a Twitter poll earlier. Like, out of all the people I've spoken to, half are saying they start him, half are saying they wouldn't kind of start him. You know, that sort of way. Like, it is a very interesting conversation. So the morale of the chap that's losing out then, I suppose, like, if you were to speak on an individual basis, no two individuals the same, right? But just say, for example, if I was decent enough to be on the St. Mullins team and I was there and I saw Mouse coming back, I personally would probably step aside because I'd know that would be giving us a better chance of winning because he's 10 times more talented hurler than I am. Not that I want work 10 times harder, but I just think it gives us a better chance. Yeah. So, like, would it be a conversation to have even? Would you have to really know your player to even have the conversation between just say the three of them, or is it just you have to just stay loyal? Like, where, you know what I mean? It's a complex one, isn't it?
It's very complex. It's like what Pat said. Like, Mouse is a gifted hurler. So he is, and you can't take it from the chap. He's absolutely gifted. And that was just my opinion. Like, if it was me, I wouldn't start Mouse. But saying that, St. Mullins, as Pat said, like, he is a gifted hurler and everybody knows that. They probably will start the chap. But the management team, it's a tough one. I would like to be in their position now. So I wouldn't like, because no matter who they're going to drop is going to be very disappointed after playing the whole year long. Like, I know Mouse is away in that hurling and that, but still, it's not going to be an easy one. So it's not.
No. Pat, like, if he does play then, where is he playing? I was thinking about this one earlier and, the plan obviously tonight was to keep things a little bit light, but at the same time we have to talk a little bit about the game, right? And I know last year Keane Doyle did a very good job on him in the semi-final. So then you're looking down at the 6 forwards who all scored the last day. And I think all of them scored twice at least. You know what I mean? And I was thinking just out loud, if you got him into the middle of the field, would Keane Doyle follow him? Is it pulling him out, a little bit further? Is it harder to mark him? You're maintaining the 6 forwards. And then, of course, if Keane goes on him, who would take up James Doyle? Like, we know the St. Mullins 6 backs are probably just going to play in their positions. That's generally the way they're operating. Like, but, what do you reckon on that one?
Yeah, well, look, I'd say even before the semi-final was played, I think that the management team might have even been thinking about this, doing their due diligence and getting ready for a possible final, because like he couldn't have arrived. I don't think he would have arrived in Ireland on a Tuesday or Wednesday without having some pre-planning done. So I'd say this has been on the boys' mind for a long time. I've been thinking about this a lot myself over the last few days, and like Mouse is the kind of player that you don't want to assign a position on the field, really. Like, I was even talking to a Bagginstown man about this there tonight, Joe O'Neill, exiled down here in St. Mullins, and I think the way, as I said, I think I would start Mouse. You'd assign him a number, let him off and do his own thing. I think he's been doing that for St. Mullins for the last, since he started playing hurling with us anyway, because he's a maverick talent, and he's a player that you don't, it's very hard to assign a duty per se to him, because he takes the game by the scruff of the neck. He weighs things up and does his thing, as regards, you mentioned earlier on about somebody else on the panel that season coming in and that may or may not have been playing, or may not have been first man in. If he's, which I think he probably will start, and if things don't go their way, then that person will be on and they'll say, well, no, they've doubly determined coming on to prove to everybody around that they have a part to play, and an influence in the game. So look, the selectors are damned if they do and damned if they don't. If hopefully that we come out on top Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, they'll be proved right no matter what they do. But their decision will be right or wrong depending on the final result. Mouse could have 60 minutes of his best game ever and we still lose, and then the sectors will still be wrong. So it all depends on the final result whether the decision to start him or not is proved right or wrong.
Yeah, Martin, I think in fairness, you have to have thick skin in this game. And I remember, again, going back to that time when he got to Croker at the very, I won't say at the very start, but definitely midway through that year and coming near the end of it, before the county final, you kind of wielded the axe, and a lot of the older lads, were, I suppose, I won't say chopped, but you gave youth a crack, and youth actually stood by you and served you well, in addition to having a bit of experience. But, you have to make the hard calls, don't you?
Of course you do, yeah. In fairness, if we hadn't have done what we done and brought in the youth, we wouldn't have went to Croke Park, we wouldn't have got out of the county, because the first game that year in the intermediate championship, we played St. Mullins in the park. I think we had 15 and St. Mullins beat us by about 18 points. So they did. And we were really, after coming down from senior the year before, so we were in serious trouble. So we approached some of the young lads, and Didzer Elliott, Minnie Minchin, a few of those came. But the big turning point was when Styler came. Styler was hurling minor and he was hurling junior, and I spoke with Styler and he said, yeah, I'll go with you, Martin. And he came, and in fairness to him, when Styler came, a few more came, and it took off from there. And it just snowballed from there. It's a bit like this team now with the boys over, and Willie and Phil and Peter and Gavin Nolan. They have young lads there. And 3 years ago, Gavin Nolan was never heard of. Last year they made steady progress, so they got to a semi-final, impressed everyone during the league campaign. St. Mullins put an end to that in the semi-final. This year the league campaign wasn't as good for us, but the main thing was that we get back to the semi-final, and last Sunday was the first Sunday that they had a full squad to pick from. And the way the hurl was fantastic last Sunday, because nobody gave them a chance of beating the Rangers. And even a lot of people in Bainstown here didn't give them a chance of beating the Rangers. So they were able to beat the Rangers and score 2-18, which is a fantastic score. So they've nothing to fear Sunday. I know St. Mullins, St. Mullins is brilliant since the beginning of time. They're the best team in Carlow, senior hurling. For a club that never do much underage, under 12, under 14, only 2 minor titles, but they can still produce top class hurlers. How? I don't know. I'd love to know how to do it, because we have umpteen minor championships, under 21s and that, and then they just for some reason fall away. But for the last couple of years, this group has been growing and growing and growing, and hopefully Sunday they can just get over the line.
Pat, it's an interesting one when you have Morris Aylward obviously over St. Mullins, a wily old fox. Did unbelievable work with Ballyhale back in 2007, in around that time. And then Gavin Nolan, who looks like Amanda could still do a job, I should say, out in the field. You know what I mean? It is interesting, and we've remarked upon it recently on the podcast, where Bindstown are mixing up man marking with actually having a few lads sitting in the centre, we'll say. So Alfie, for example, you expect him to always sit at 6, right? Because no matter who goes in, he's near enough going to nullify him. You'd imagine. He's just that good. He's like a cheat code. He's unbelievable. Yeah. So from that point of view, when you see Bindstown going with occasional man markers, Alfie holding the centre and all, what do you do? Do you think, is that something St. Mullins think about? Would Morris Aylward be thinking about that? Would it be, I won't say a fear factor, but at the same time, very few lads over the last 15 years have got anything off Alfie. So you're nearly looking at this situation and thinking, who's taking one for the team here? Yeah.
Well, sure, do you just decide, let Alfie do his thing and we'll let our players do our thing, I think if I heard the interview with Jack, it might have been even with yourself after the game last weekend, Kevin, about going back to the field and going down to St. Mullins and getting in the river and recovery, and that would be in the field tomorrow night. And he said, Morris is old school. We'll go over, we'll poke the ball around, play a bit of hurling, and move on. I don't think systems or tactics is a thing that comes into the way St. Mullins hurling. It hasn't generally over the years hasn't been too big a thing. Like as Mick said there, you bring players through to a senior team in St. Mullins and you say, look, you're there now, there's jersey, go ahead and do it. Like, you have to trust, you have to have a certain amount of trust in your players and let them go out and express themselves and not be afraid to go and win a game and be kind of strung up by tactics and being here at a certain time and waiting for a certain ball to go a certain way. Like once the ball is thrown in a game of hurling, it's a very organic kind of a thing, like, and you have to give players the kind of license to adapt and see a game that develops in front of them and make their own decisions, as you know yourself, being involved with teams, Kevin, over the years, once the team crosses the white line, there's very little you can do once the ball is thrown in. Games they kind of take a mind of their own, take kind of a process of their own, and no matter what you do, you could have 10 water breaks, and still, if things are going against you, they're going against you, and it's very hard to turn things around. So, you have to kind of trust your players and trust what's been done during the year and hope for the best after that, like,
Definitely, yeah. And it's even worse now, lads. Like, obviously, being involved with the team this year, you can't, like, there's no Mayor Forna. Bonastore can't go in past a certain area. A Mayor Ishka, even a water boy or a hurley boy can barely go in either. Like, it's so hard to get a message onto the field. The whole thing has gone crazy, really, like, But I wanted to ask about you two gentlemen. Did you cross paths much over the years? And if so, was there any memorable encounters?
I'm sure we did, Martin. I tell you, I know for a fact that, like when you talk about, I suppose, the level of experience that Bagenalstown have, maybe I don't know, maybe Martin, I don't know, to be cross our paths too much, but like you have a case of very strong minor teams and under 21 teams that I would have come across over the years, with the likes of Fergal Byrne, Decky Byrne, the Byrne twins, the Declan DeLacy in the goal, Peachy, and the Coburn brothers. Like, they were serious Bagenalstown teams, and they always, more than 9 times out of 10, broke our hearts, like, and like Martin said, a lot of those players that maybe didn't go on and play too much at senior level, but the likes of myself and a few of our lads maybe still going at it, and we were able to eke out a few senior championships, like, but like that's where this whole thing about experience comes in now, and has been mentioned earlier on in the stream about Bagenalstown lacking experience. I wouldn't for one minute subscribe to that view at all, because like there are numerous underage titles. A lot of those boys, then you have the experience of the Dials and Alfie Corcoran, that they were the boys that went up to Croke Park, and like Martin said, we're the first Carlow team to reach Croke Park in the junior and intermediate final that time. So there's a strong cohort there that has a backbone of a team that has plenty of experience, and that team has plenty of experience of winning medals, So, yeah, with and going back to crossing the swords of Bagenalstown, I felt my fair share of pain at the end of the Bagenalstown hurling over the years, So yeah, there's plenty of experience there, and plenty of. Huh?
I said it wasn't mine, Pa.
I won't say. I won't say pain at the end of a hurl, pain at the end of maybe a defeat more so than anything else. Yeah. Well, no, I'll tell you, if you get I think you get to give it back, and certain that's the way it goes.
In fact, oh yeah, that's it. But I remember you're on about Decky Byrne and Fergal and Dexter Lacey. I remember one time we were hurling senior against St. Mullins in the park here, and you were hurling in the middle of the field again. I think it's could have went on and won the championship the same year, in the early 2000s. And our judges gave us a woeful hiding. I'll never forget. You scored, I think, five or six something. It was a woeful beating for us, because we had a lot of the young lads. I was a bit older than Decky and Fergal and the boys, and we had a lot of the young lads like that, but St. Mullins gave us a woeful hiding, and after that morale in the camp was fierce, and a lot of lads fell by the wayside, which was a pity, because if they had stayed at it, like, ye hadn't won anything underage, but ye stayed at it, and ye went on and ye won your senior championships. And that was always a big problem in Bagenalstown, lads falling away by the wayside. And we thought we had a good young team coming that time because they were after winning minor and under 21 and everything. And it was a good crop of players, but some of them went by the wayside after that. I'll never forget that in the park. And I think yourself, John Cal, got into her out that day. They just.
John Cal wouldn't fight with anyone. Just, he was a very gentle soul. But that team, that Bagenalstown team that we would have grown up against at under, I always remember up under 12, under 14 or 16, minor and under 21. That was an extremely talented Bagenalstown team, and I often wonder, like, I suppose maybe being a town team and having more sports available, maybe in a town, the soccer maybe or whatever, Gaelic football again. There was none of that down in St. Mullins. We have our hurling and that's it. You know, the football. The
soccer
football
that time was very big. So.
Yeah, you know, and no, I know football is making its way back into St. Mullins, and it's no harm either because it's after helping our lads get over, last winter, you know. But yeah, look at it's something down here, and I have two young men here that are going to come in and say hello to us. Like, it's just a thing here that we've no distractions and we just keep it.
Yeah, I'll just pop off, Pat, there for a minute. I think the device was definitely duplicating there or something. Might be on that end actually. Yeah, I think it's actually on Martin's end.
Hello,
yeah,
Kevin.
Yeah, we're getting shocking feedback there. Whatever's going on. You had two people that was going to say hello to us.
Yes, no, Keelan, Carl, and Dylan Moran, come over here, boys. Hold on there now, Kevin. I'm going to give them one earpiece each. Now, hold on there for a second. Two of St. Mullins' biggest supporters. Just give me a second there now. Now, Keelan.
Oh, water. You're like a roving reporter going around.
Hold on there now. Now, put that in there. Dylan, you put that in your ear there. Now, there are two boys.
How are you doing? How's things?
Now.
Hello. Good.
Well, he's all set for Sunday.
Yeah.
Who's going to win?
I just want to say a big St. Mullins.
Yeah. Go on there. You're going to say something.
The best of luck to the boys on Sunday.
I hope you bring the cup home.
Come on, St. Mullins.
Very good. Go on the boys, huh? Have a bit of everything on the program. Good stuff. Thanks for joining us, lads. And
thank you.
Go home to the bed there now shortly. I'll just see Martin Kelly back there. The feedback is still going. I'm going to have to just say goodbye to Martin and thanks a million for his contribution. But Pat, I'll take this back from you. If the boys can hear me, they might actually throw it back to
me. Yeah.
Throw it back to you there, and we'll wrap this up very shortly.
Bye.
Indeed. Thanks, lads. Thanks a million. That's class.
Well, Kevin. Yeah, you see, I suppose that's I'm sure it's the same in every family above in Bagenalstown. Excitement in every family and all. Like I know there's been 2 or 3 train sessions already this week above. I'm sure the whole week's been full of train sessions, but there's been camogie teams and underage hurling teams getting involved, above in the field. And in fairness, the senior boys have made it their business to be there for a few of the train sessions just for the children to get the excitement, because normally the county final would take place during the school term, and the schools would be festooned with flags, and it'd be a very exciting time where teachers now would get involved, and build up the tension and the bit of excitement for all the children. So look, that's at the end of the day, really, your club is only as good as the little lads that are coming up behind you, and look, it's great to see little lads like that having a great time, and their memories they'll have for the rest of their lives, and it'll be the same for the children in Bagenalstown this week as well.
Yep, 100%. I'll get a quick forwarding, Pat, before we wrap up here.
I'm usually very good at verdicts, Kevin, as you know yourself now. But look, the bookies will have it. They'll look at numbers and they'll look at results over the years, and they'll say one thing about Bagenalstown are underdogs. I think if you look back even to last year's semi-final between the two teams, they were very, very close. And I know the Bangladesh will be thinking back and they'll be looking back at how maybe that game might have slipped away from them. Look, obviously, the most impressive performance of the weekend just gone was Bangladesh versus Munster Rangers, and in anyone's book that the Munster Rangers were favourites for the championship outright. So like, I don't think anyone in St. Mullins is going to be in any way complacent in relation to the challenge that's being faced on Sunday. But look at hearts is one thing and the head says head will back it up, I suppose. Having Mouse back is a great bonus for us. I think I did say earlier on that the management have a hard job, will have a hard job fit them into the team. But look at how could you leave them out? And I think it is well known that maybe the free taking didn't go as well for us as it could have done the last day, and it might have been the difference between us losing out on a county final place. And with Mouse back for free taking alone, that's going to maybe settle down a small few nerves on the management point of view. So I'd be starting Mouse. It'll drive on the boys on the sideline that might maybe drop down the pecking order. So I don't think
internet is dropping out. The internet is
would be
dropping
a
out. If you
positive
can hear me
even
back
on that front. But Bush, I'm trying to make up your mind. But look, I give us sugar. Yeah, are you there?
Yeah, you're
there,
just
Kevin?
go back there now. Yeah, it just fell out on me for a sec. So what was your verdict?
Sorry.
There?
I would give St. Mullins a hesitant nod by 4 points at the max, but it could be a puck of a ball in it at the end, and that's how close I'd make it. Don't rule out a draw after 60 minutes.
Yeah, I think 9-1 is a good price. I might actually have Martin Kelly here before we go. Martin, you back with us?
Yes.
Sorry,
can you hear me, Kevin?
All echoey. Yeah, loud and clear.
Yeah,
can you hear us?
I can. Yeah, perfect.
We'll get a quick verdict off you, Martin, before we say goodnight.
Hopefully, be a good game. Should be a good game. Has the Americans have a great game, and please God, the town end their 55-year famine.
There we go. So buying the sound by how much, Martin?
1 pint to do, maybe.
That's all you need. That's all anyone ever needs.
Well, listen.
1 pint to do, it's maybe nothing.
Yeah, we're looking forward to a cracker. Lads, thanks a million for joining us here this evening. Really appreciate your time as always.
Pleasure, yeah.
Thank you. Thanks a million, Pat. Thanks a million, Martin. Much appreciated. And thanks a million to all our guests who have joined us over the duration of this evening. The very best luck to Bangladesh Gales. The very best luck to St. Mullins. Also, the very best luck to Naomh Eoin and Munster Rangers. They're playing the intermediate final at 6 o'clock tomorrow at Netwash Cullen Park. 2 o'clock in Netwash Cullen Park Sunday. You have the under-20B final between Carrowtown and Naomh Breed. That gets proceedings underway. And the very best luck to those two clubs as well. Senior final throws in at 4. It's going to be an absolute cracker. I want to say a big thank you again to Connolly's Top Line, Gladney Cleaning Services, the Pitch and Putt Club in Bynderstown, and the Red Lion, who, of course, as I said, they're showing the game at 4 o'clock Sunday, and live music there afterwards. And, of course, to our sponsors who've been with us for the whole championship, Regional and Physiotherapy, Brendan Cabinet Furniture, Balloons and Sweet Treats, Craig Carney Web Design, DB Recovery, and Corcoran Precast Tanks. We're going to end the stream very, very shortly, but as soon as we do, we'll work on getting it up on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all those places. We thank, as I said, look, our sponsors, our listeners, our viewers, really, really appreciate it. The figures have been great this evening. If you've enjoyed what you heard this evening as well, we have a Buy Me a Coffee link there. If you appreciate the efforts we're putting in, you can support the podcast for the price of a coffee. Not mandatory, but it's there if you wish to do so. All we can say is the very best luck once more to all the clubs involved. Thanks again, and we'll chat to you on Monday when we're reviewing everything. Who knows? We could be talking about a replay. But until then, take care.